We're here to bring a new type of news show.
New insights, new styles, and new topics every day.
We are News Generation.
Bringing news just for you. It's Tuesday, July 22nd here in Seoul. I'm Lee Soo-jin, and this is News Generation. Joining us today is Brooke Prince.
Hello, happy to be here.
Good to have you. And also Kang Won-ju's with us.
Happy Tuesday.
And both are here to speak on behalf of people in their 20s and 30s. So as we move into the second week of the work week, and it's Tuesday, which means we're going to begin with our keyword news, where we look at a story that has been gaining traction over the past 24 hours. Today's keyword is virtual idols. The popularity of K-pop Demon Hunter shows no signs of slowing down. An article published by the Wall Street Journal suggested that virtual idols could soon outshine their real-life counterparts. The movie's fictional girl group Huntrix's song Golden climbed to number 6 on the Billboard Hot 100, while the boy group Saja Boys reached number 16 with Your Idol. And 2 of the film's tracks have topped the US Spotify's most streamed songs, feats never before achieved by any other K-pop group, including BTS and Blackpink. According to the Wall Street Journal, this wave of success could mark the beginning of a new chapter in the idol industry. So Moonju, do you believe virtual idols can truly replace human idols in the long run? Why or why not? And would you be just as excited to attend a virtual idol concert as a live one?
I'd say yes, but no.
Yes, but no.
Yes, but no. Virtual idols, of course, deliver high quality music, and they're gaining significant popularity from all over the world now. But I believe it's kind of still difficult for technology to build emotional bonds and sense of closeness that humans do. So with human idols, there's a special connection between fans and artists that you could build from fan signings or live concerts, sharing tears, sharing joyful moments, and eventually having a mutually supporting those kind of relationships. Not that virtual idols can't do it, but I think technologies are not quite at that point that we could fully feel those emotional bonds. So I would say yes, but no. And for concerts, I definitely want to try visit there and kind of see the similarities and differences between human idols and virtual idols.
So I finally watched K-pop Demon Hunters yesterday.
Oh.
And I have to say, I was actually kind of skeptical about the concept of virtual idols going into it. I mean, there's already virtual idols exist, like Playbus. They're also quite popular. But because like Moonju said, feeling the emotional connection with the idols is such a big part of the fandom. So I was kind of skeptical of it. But watching the film and seeing these characters kind of flashed out, have personalities, maybe it is possible to go and to get people to watch your concert. I would be as you are. I'd be willing to see go to a concert and see what it looks like, what they'll do with it. Especially with a group like Huntrix,
right?
Which is the fictional girl group in the movie. I could see myself going to their concert
for sure.
Right. So what are your thoughts on this, bro?
Well, my niece is absolutely crazy about this movie. She is so obsessed with it. She thinks she is a K-pop demon hunter. And it even got my brother into K-pop. He says the songs are really catchy. So I think what that shows is that it's reaching a lot of different audiences. It reminds me a lot of Squid Game with how viral it went. And I watched it myself. I loved it. I thought the music might be more geared towards kids, more cutesy, but I was surprised. The songs hit really hard and they're really fun to listen to. They're all on my playlists now. So I do see the passion of the fan base growing. I think it can continue to do so. I do think the advantage that human idols have over virtual idols at this point is, like we've been talking about, there is more of that emotional connection when you can meet them. And they also have the benefit of having consistent content. They go on variety shows, they film behind the scenes content. That's how BTS got big, was putting out a lot of videos like that. And of course that takes a lot of time and effort from the artists to do that for a virtual idol. But we're starting to see more and more of that happening. So I would definitely love to go to a virtual concert with my niece. I think it'd be super fun.
Right, like you said, I think they're great. There's so many different types of content, and I think it's interesting to see how virtual idols can incorporate into it. And I have no doubt they will be able to manage to do that. So as virtual idols continue to climb charts and captivate global audiences, it's clear they're becoming more than just a trend. They may be signaling a major shift in how K-pop will be produced, consumed, and celebrated in the future. And that concludes our QR News for this Tuesday. So as we move into the second day of the work week, we're diving into a topic that's relatable to all of us who have bought something recently. Let's take a look at the screen to learn more. In today's digital age, the way we live and interact is changing faster than ever before. One of the biggest shifts? How we pay for things. From restaurants and cafes to stores and markets, face-to-face payments are quickly becoming a thing of the past. Everywhere you look, QR codes and contactless options are taking over, making transactions faster, easier, and more convenient. But as we embrace this digital convenience, it raises an important question. Is everyone keeping up, or are some people being left behind? As we just saw in the video, Korea's payment landscape is changing fast, with it becoming common to order and pay for items through unmanned kiosks or QR codes. So for today's main discussion, we're diving deeper into this digital shift and what it means for people and for different people and places. Brooke, let me start with you. Have you ever come across an unmanned kiosk in an unexpected place?
I would say the kiosk at the Incheon International Airport. I guess that's kind of maybe unexpected, mostly because of what they look like. They're basically like little robots. And every time my family visits, we love to play with these robots. You can see them here on the screen. There are AI-guided robots such as AirStar and AirPorter that assist travelers with directions, camera-equipped AirDilly robots that deliver coffee and snacks directly to your gate after you scan a QR code, and even self-driving air ride vehicles that transport the elderly or passengers with disabilities between terminals. And all of these kiosk robots support multiple languages, so it makes the experience a lot easier for international visitors. Plus, they are just so adorable. They program them with a little smile and they come right up to you like a real person. And so I think what's unexpected about it is not so much the place, but just the way they look. They're not these boring stationary kiosks anymore. They actually move around these days.
Well, have you actually used one of these?
Oh yes, we took selfies with it. It was a great time. Every time I go to the airport, it feels like you kind of stepped into the future. It's really fun.
So every time I personally go to airport, it's kind of annoying having to stand in line to get snacks, but
True.
having them delivered to you sounds quite amazing. Yep. So what about you, Moonju?
Mine's very similar to Bruce, but just at a different place at restaurants. So one day I visited this restaurant, like shabu shabu place, and I ordered a food through a tablet PC on my table, and then I was waiting for food. Then I suddenly look at this cute robot kind of like avoiding all the peoples and all the tables and seats, and kind of stops at my table and waits until I grab this plate. And as soon as I grab it, robot says bye to me, and she just runs away from my table. And I was like, it was so adorable. It was unexpected moment. Like, you know, normally you'd order a food through a tablet PC and you would wait for a server to bring you food and you would expect it to do so. But suddenly, like, robot comes to me. I was like, oh, it's very unexpected, but it's very surprising and cute. So I was like, it's an interesting moment to see, and now I became a regular customer there. It's kind of odd for me to like see server bringing me a plate, but still
a real person.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. Hello.
How do I interact with this?
Yeah, but still, it was a very exciting moment to see those kind of robots like bringing me the food over here. Yeah.
So as someone, I actually thoroughly enjoy buffets as well. So I know how frustrating it can be to having to go up and get food, especially when there's a lot of people.
Yeah.
So having it delivered, especially with things like hot pot or shabu shabu, where soup's always boiling.
Yeah, exactly.
Having it delivered to you sounds really convenient.
Yeah.
So it feels like more and more places are switching to kiosk or QR code ordering. Brooke, what have you noticed about this trend?
Well, I've been here for almost 10 years now, so it's hard not to notice the difference. There are more and more places in Korea that are switching completely to kiosks or QR code ordering. And looking at the statistics, if you take a look at the screen, the number of kiosks installed was about 210,000 in 2021. But by 2023, that figure had risen to 537,000 units, a 155% increase in just 2 years. And of course, that's been growing. In fact, according to a 2024 report, the market for kiosks and unmanned stores in Korea continues to rise rapidly, driven by labor shortages and high wages. These days, even small cafes and local restaurants, like we talked about, are adopting kiosks, and QR code ordering has become common in casual dining spots, bars, even convenience stores, traditional markets. You really find them everywhere. So it's starting to feel now like learning how to use a kiosk, it's not a choice, it's a necessity. You're going to come across them and you're going to use them, and you might find them very convenient, or you might find them a struggle, like we're going to talk about later.
So 155% increase.
That's
It sounds like a crazy figure, but honestly, it's not that surprising. Like, as an economics reporter, my colleagues and I have all, I think, covered this phenomenon of kiosks in restaurants. So it's not that surprising, but it's clear that's also accelerating as well. So I think I automatically also look for a kiosk now
Right.
whenever I walk into a store or restaurant. So Moonji, what about QR codes? So we've talked quite extensively about kiosks. Do you feel like they've also become more common?
Oh, definitely. There's an increasing number of restaurants that are adopting QR code ordering systems. They're easy to use with a mobile phone camera. You don't have to download a separate application for this process. And the menu appears in the language that you have, language that sets in your mobile device. So it's kind of very useful for foreign tourists to use here in South Korea. And interesting fact here is in Jeju Island, which is a popular destination for foreign tourists here in South Korea. Even local bus fares can be paid in QR codes. I was so surprised hearing this, and I really want to try it later if I have an opportunity, and it was so surprising, yeah.
I think I would hold everyone up. I wouldn't be able to find my phone. I would
That would be me too, right? I think with QR codes, I'm a little less familiar with them. I think I've used it once before in a busy restaurant. And I think that made it more, it kind of streamlined the process as well. So I think it's kind of different with like the thing in Jeju that Moonji talked about. Like, with that, I think it'd be really convenient for foreign tourists, but like, I don't know how, like you said, like it'll take time for people to look for it and stuff. But so I guess there's different views on how it works. So Moonji, why do you think so many businesses are adopting unmanned kiosks and QR code systems?
So from the perspective of business owners, the biggest advantage lies in cost efficiency because aside from the initial setup expense, the ongoing maintenance costs are relatively very low. Additionally, there's no need to manage staff, which kind of significantly reduces financial burden and more importantly, the psychological burden that arises from the stress of interpersonal relationships, and consumers' part they are also appreciating the convenience of placing orders without having to interact with unfamiliar people. Personally, I also find using kiosks more convenient than placing orders face to face. And also these days, the screens display vivid photos of food, so I even think it's more useful than like the printed menu. And lastly, ordering via kiosk reduces the wait time for staff to take your order. For instance, like you have to make an eye contact with the server. You have to wait until the server comes to your place, receives your order, and bringing back to the kitchen. This kind of long process, and you can reduce this time, which makes more time efficient and for both customers and restaurants. So I think it's a win-win situation for everyone involved in this process.
So we've talked about what it's like in Korea, but what's it like in the US, Brooke? Are you seeing a similar trend there?
Yeah, it's changed over the years. Every time I visit now, there are menus that you have to get a QR code for. So it's very different. But I'm going to give you some more numbers here. According to Focus reports, the global self-service kiosk market was valued at $10.7 billion in 2024 and is expected to reach $15.2 billion by 2030. In North America alone, the market was worth $8.37 billion in 2024 and accounted for 42.4% of the global interactive kiosk market revenue, with the U.S. accounting for about $5.28 billion of that figure. So as you can tell, the US is definitely dominating the market. They love their kiosks, and many major fast food chains now feature them in most of their locations, with one of them even reporting that kiosks already handle over half of in-store orders, and it's even increased their customer spending by around 10%, which is interesting. Maybe people feel less embarrassed to order more when they're on the kiosks. But more than 60% of quick service brands in the US use kiosks to reduce costs, address labor shortages, and improve efficiency. A survey also found that 61% of American customers now prefer restaurants with kiosks, up from 36% the year before, nearly doubling. So that's just showing how quickly customer preferences are changing. I think people really prefer self-service these days.
So while the numbers clearly show a rapid growth and widespread adoption, especially in the US, like Brooke mentioned, they don't always tell the full story. So as unmanned kiosks and QR codes become more common in our daily routines, not everyone is adjusting in the same way. Some people love the speed and convenience, while others find it confusing or even frustrating, especially older generations. So to get a better sense of how the public feels about this shift, we ran a poll on Arirang News YouTube channel asking our viewers how they prefer to place their orders. And here's what people had to say. So according to our poll, 64% of respondents said they prefer using self-service kiosks or QR codes when placing orders, while 36% still favored ordering in person with a staff member. So the responses showed a clear divide. While many people enjoy the convenience of digital ordering, a significant portion of people still prefer face-to-face interactions. So unmanned kiosks and QR codes are definitely a sign of the times, but different generations seem to respond to them in very different ways, don't they, Moonju?
Yes, they do. Since each establishment has a different user interface, even younger generations kind of sometimes face confusion with using kiosks at the first time. It's then no surprise that older individuals will face with even greater difficulties. In fact, while about 25% of the general population reported having trouble using the kiosk, if you narrow down the sample size to only senior citizens, the figure rises more than twice to 60%. Furthermore, people with disabilities, whether visual or physical, often find kiosks challenging to navigate. Similar issues arise in settings like sports events or concerts, where ticket booking and issuance rely heavily on electronic devices. So for older adults who aren't familiar with digital technology these days, even enjoying leisure activities can become very difficult for them.
So, Brooke, what are some challenges or problems that older generations face when using kiosks or these QR systems?
Well, I think one of the biggest problems is that a lot of restaurants have just removed any alternatives. There are no printed menus, there are no staff members to help, and sometimes you really just want that human interaction, especially if you are perhaps an older customer that feels like you are unable to place an order at all with these limitations. For seniors who are not familiar with digital technology, figuring out how to navigate a touchscreen or a QR code system can feel quite overwhelming, especially if the interface is, cluttered, or in the case of perhaps older foreigners that are living here in Korean, it can be difficult if the menu is only available in Korean. So people who still use older mobile phones that don't have QR code scanning capabilities are also excluded from these systems. They're basically just shut out of being able to use them. And in many cases, they might feel perhaps too embarrassed to ask for help. There's that meme, okay, boomer, maybe they're afraid of younger people judging them. So this trend can really create a risk of isolating and alienating people. So it's not just about an inconvenience for them, it's making these basic activities like having a meal feel stressful or perhaps even impossible.
Right, so these trends create a real risk of isolating and alienating the very people who often need the most assistance. It's not just about inconvenience. For many older adults, even something as simple as having a meal can become stressful or, like Brooke said, even overwhelming. So after the break, we'll be speaking with a professor to better understand the broader implications of this digital shift and what can be done to make it more inclusive. So stay tuned.
NewsGen wants to hear from you. Go to YouTube and search our channel Arirang News. Click Community and leave a comment down below. Make a new type of news with us.
Joining us today is Dr. Jared Watson, Professor of Marketing at NYU Stern School of Business. Hi, Dr. Watson. Thank you so much for connecting with us today.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So unmanned kiosks and QR codes have become a part of everyday life. What kind of social issues have emerged as a result of this shift?
Yeah, you all have hit on the key blocks quite well. So there tends to be this possibility of exclusion from the marketplace for older demographics who aren't comfortable with technology, for those with disabilities who can't operate the technology, and especially the low-income community who might not have access or be able to afford the technology. So those are, some of the key social issues. At a macro level, we also have to consider job displacement. So we're in a point in time where there's a lot of uncertainty around people's career paths, opportunities for employment. And we understand that this is potentially meaning the loss of jobs for everyday people, which can be a challenge. And then the last thing I'll highlight from a societal issue perspective is the concerns around privacy. So a lot of consumers are concerned potentially about government tracking, what's going on with this data, how is it being used to exploit me? And so these technologies are kind of improving the speed by which we're giving this data to companies to experiment with.
So I'm an American as well, but I haven't lived there in about 10 years, so I'm sure it's changed a lot since then. How would you say people generally feel about using unmanned kiosks and QR codes in the US? Are there any concerns or complaints that come up often?
Yeah, it's an interesting thing because I think sort of in the back of people's heads or in the general conversation, there's this uncertainty around how technology is entering our lives. But when it comes to actually using it, consumers tend to broadly appreciate it. They like, to your point, not having to wait on the wait staff to reach them for their order. They like the efficiency of being able to skip lines and avoid some of that social interaction in the marketplace. So there tends to be quite positive interactions. It's still a developing technology, so there are some challenges, right? So technology can have issues, right? It may malfunction. Some consumers are finding that it's not scanning as it's supposed to. And one of the challenges of this is that there aren't necessarily the employees around to help navigate some of those challenges. And then the last I'd sort of highlight here is feeling forced to adapt to this new technology. And this is especially true for the older generation who would like things how they were. So having to shift into leveraging this technology is a common complaint we hear.
Yeah, I do agree with you, Professor. Just briefly, how do you think the problems you just mentioned could be addressed or resolved in the future?
Sure. So the number one thing to address is inclusive design, right? And so this might mean larger images. This might mean tactile menus for people with disabilities to be able to read or feel or understand the language better. Beyond that, right, if we're able to repurpose some of the employees' roles, we're seeing not only fewer loss of jobs, but we're able to see enhanced customer satisfaction by things like educating customers, hand-holding the older demographics through the process, training them so that they feel comfortable leveraging this. In New York, it's policy that you actually have to have a cash option available as well. So while we still have this technology quite prevalently, it's law that we have to accept cash at these stores as well, which helps as well. And then there have to be clear disclosure opportunities. So you have to say, here's what we plan to do with your data. We're giving you an option whether to allow us to do that or to opt out of that collection of data for things. So I think those are some of the key blocks as well when it comes to understanding the challenges and trying to address those in inclusive design and being very transparent with customers in the process.
I think what you mentioned about having additional options available as well as training sessions is really interesting and important to remember. So thank you so much for sharing your insight with us today, Professor.
Anytime.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So as we've seen throughout our discussion and through our interview, digital tools like kiosks and QR codes are becoming the new norm. We're also conducting a program survey that includes news generation until August 17th to better meet our viewers' expectations. Please visit us at www.arirang.com or on the Arirang TV mobile app to share your valuable feedback. And by participating, you'll also have a chance to win Bluetooth earbuds and exclusive K-pop merchandise. So this brings us to the end of today's episode of News Generation, but News Gen will be back tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. Korea time. Big thanks to Brooke.
Thank you for having me.
For coming in, and Woonju.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much for watching. We hope you have the best day. We are
News Generation.